11:05 p.m. When it rains, it pours. The endless farmland where I live is dry as a bone until it isn't, and then storms roll through and everything breaks loose. Storms big enough to wash away cattle, the kind where tornadoes rip at the earth like fingers of an angry god. Tonight, I am taking shelter in my dead husband's childhood home, sitting by the chimney with my 2-year-old son, what remains of a fire flickering in and out as wind funnels down the chimney. I hear my dead mother's voice in my head. She speaks in her classic, "I told you so" tone, undercutting the sound of a not-so-distant thunder. "Should have stayed in the city like I told you, Tess. It's your own fault. You chose to run away with that crabby excuse for a husband." The old witch had always hated Johnny. I'm realizing that apparently her ghost hates him just as much. Her ghost has no sympathy for the fact that I'm recently widowed, that Johnny got killed in a hit and run 2 days back. Now I have nobody else but John Jr. JJ has glasses, the Coke bottle kind. He's farsighted. Up close, he's blind without them. JJ is a late bloomer. When we could afford it, he went to a gross motor specialist in the city. At a little over 2, he can barely walk, though the glasses help. And he's sensitive. The kind of kid who, God willing, will grow up and make the world a better place because he actually gives a crap. But when you're so young that emotions run high and words fail you, sensitivity is its own sort of thunderstorm. Terrible 2 tantrums make supercell storms look like small potatoes. A supercell storm, 6 hours of severe weather, and we'll be here all night, maybe forever if the house collapses. I scrub the bad thoughts from my mind. I shush JJ, telling him that it's okay, that Mama's here to protect him. But doubt creeps back up, like water in a swollen river. Johnny and his family, they know how to weather storms. They were from here. Not me. I'm a city girl who got stuck in the country, and now I'm up to my eyes in trouble. The chimney where JJ and I are sitting, it was the source of so many comforting nights together with Johnny's family before his mom and dad had died. When Johnny's brother finally landed in the state penitentiary for good, Johnny came home, me with him, to run the family business. We had huddled near the hearth on nights like these, tornadoes on their way, praying that we would never have to bother with the storm cellar out by the barn. And we never did. The hearth was sacred to Johnny's family. They had found comfort in it for as long as they had been here. But I should have left because it's Johnny's hearth, Johnny's family's chimney. Johnny's family is a crackling fire, not mine. And now I'm stuck here with my mother's ghost, reminding me of my numerous shortcomings. "Stupid," she says. "You're a city girl, not a country bumpkin. Not a rube like Johnny and his good-for-nothing family." I search for words to argue with my mother's ghost, but I come up short. And then a powerful gust of wind comes down the chimney, and the fire goes out completely. Life recently, it's been defined by coming up short. Hirsch Hickson, the county sheriff, old Bill Wallace, our neighbor from down the road, they told me to prepare for the storm on the horizon. They saw that our family had come up short, and they had wanted to help, but I didn't listen. Hirsch said that he would come for JJ and me if things got bad. I hope he doesn't. I can't have his death on my conscience, too. As my mother's ghost stares at me from near the chimney and the charred remains of a fire, the memory of everything that happened in the last few days threatens to send me to the brink. I look at JJ. He's not crying at the moment, but the storm isn't even halfway here. This is the first storm that I'll have to weather on my own, and truth be told, I'm scared out of my mind. I'm scared that I'll fail JJ and that both of us will die. I'll have had 28 decent years on this earth, a good run. But JJ doesn't deserve to die after 2, punished for his mom's mistakes. Life can just be real like that. When it rains, it pours. 11:35 p.m. Close to midnight now. JJ whimpers. I shush him, telling him that it'll be okay and hating myself for lying. Thinking back, dang it, how many storm warnings were there? And I don't mean the kind on the Weather Channel. I mean the things that have happened recently. Portents of trouble coming down the road. Johnny getting called back home in the first place 2 years ago. We were living in the city above our means but happy. And then he was called back to take over the family business. That crap hole laundromat on Main. And when he left for his deployment all those years ago, he made a promise to himself that he would never come back. He knew that nothing good could come from being near his brother or the people that they had grown up with. But our finances were going down the tube, right along with Johnny's parents' health. So he came home. After a year his parents had died, the family business had continued to fail. And then almost a week back, 10 dead at a pharmacy in a neighboring town. 1 Oxycontin-addicted robber, 5 shoppers, a sheriff's deputy, and 3 people working in the back, the ones who had been held up for the drugs and the money. The shootout had been so violent that the papers had only included a small write-up about it, no pictures at all. The night of the robbery, Johnny came home white as a sheet. Karma, my mother's ghost says from her place near the fireplace. You're an idiot for ever believing that Johnny was more than a 2-bit criminal. He got what he deserved, getting hit by that. Shut up. JJ looks up at me, tears in his eyes. Oh, I wasn't talking to you, baby. I say to him, My assurances are cut off by JJ's sudden wail, more than matched by the screaming wind outside. Maybe my mom was right about Johnny, about him being nothing more than a criminal. Past his kindness, past his gentleness, there was severity. Johnny had served in Afghanistan. The military had turned him into a killer. His soul was scarred by what he saw over there. But was killing in his nature? His brother had been a thief but not a killer. Was there something to it? Something dark running through Johnny's family? They had been revered in town. It didn't match up. His mom had been so. A bout of hail pounding on the roof could be heard. Golf ball size or bigger, it startled me from my thoughts. JJ's screaming intensifies. This time, it's Johnny's voice in my head, not my mother's. Remember what I taught you, Tess, he says. About survival, about fighting back, about storms. I remember one day last fall almost a year ago before things fell completely apart. No lessons about storms, just survival. Johnny taught me how to shoot. I hated guns, hated the way they looked, and hated the way that they smelled. But I saw trouble in Johnny's eyes and knew that if nothing else, taking the shooting lesson seriously would put him at ease. The trouble in his eyes. Had he known about some impending trouble that he hadn't told me about? Water and canned food in the cellar if you need it, Johnny says. Battery-powered radio and a flashlight in the kitchen. First aid kit under the sink. Formula for the baby. Screw formula. Johnny and I had been trying to wean JJ for months, but that was before Johnny had died and the storm showed up on my doorstep. If breastfeeding stops the crying, even for a second. Remember what I taught you about survival, Tess, Johnny repeats. The storm cellar near the barn. It's your Alamo. If you can't get there, go to the bathtub. Not the one against the outside wall in our bedroom. I mean the one that butts up against the garage, near JJ's nursery. The sound of another bout of hail cuts off Johnny's warning. My mother's voice again. Should have left, you stupid girl. Should have left when you had the chance. JJ's crying, the storm outside. My eardrums are on the verge of bleeding. Hail on the rooftop. Or is it someone pounding on the front door? 11:55 p.m. 5 till midnight. 5 minutes until the witching hour, when devils come out to play. I open the front door to see who's pounding on it, and 2 strangers are standing on the stoop, their dark silhouettes outlined by bulbs of lightning popping in the distance. The sky is electric green. More hail is on the way. I can barely hear these strangers' words over the wind. Got stuck. Need a little help. Lightning too close for comfort ignites their faces. 2 men. Knowing that they're dead otherwise, I let them inside. One stumbles on his way through the door, catching himself against the opposite wall near the kitchen counter. The other pushes me and JJ back, closing the door behind him. He slides the deadbolt into place. The one who locked the front door stays near it. The other stumbles away from the wall and drops into Johnny's father's favorite recliner. Both of the men are soaked to the bone. Thank God for you, says the man. We were effed out there. I want to cover JJ's ears. Johnny and I let curses fly, but the words sound different, coming out of this man's mouth. They sound like venom. Is he hungry? Asked the man in the recliner. He stares at my chest with emotionless eyes. I won't peek, I promise. I shake my head. Instead of feeding JJ, I ask a question that's been on my mind ever since they came through the front door. What were you doing out there? You could have died. The man behind me near the door clears his throat, but it's the man in the recliner who speaks. We're on a treasure hunt, he says. A what? A treasure hunt. He smiles at JJ. You like games, kiddo? I shield JJ with my body. Oh, is he mute or something? Asks the man. He's 2 years old, I say. He can't speak yet. The man laughs, and then he bends around me to look at the man by the door. God, Troy, I could speak by then, couldn't you? You might consider taking the boy to the city. See if you can get him some help. I'm not fooled by him. There's something unsettling about this man. Something in his eyes. He's a wild card. He may as well have ridden in on a lightning bolt. His hair is messy from the wind, but I get the feeling that he looks that way even on a good day. This man is unstable, unsteady. In the few minutes that I've known him, I discern that this man is severely unwell. Hurry up, Carl, says the man near the door. His name is Troy. I turn to look at him, whereas Carl is wiry, rat-like, and crazed, like he had escaped a mental hospital. Troy is big and steady on his feet. He looks like a pillar of stone. His face is chiseled and he's 6'4" at least. I run away from Troy's unfeeling gaze and back to Carl. In the time since I've taken my eyes off him, Carl has pulled out a pistol from under his jacket. It's laying on his lap, the barrel pointed in JJ's in my direction. I hear the voice of my dead mother from somewhere in the kitchen. Should have left, you stupid girl. Should have left when you had a chance. I hear Johnny's voice too. I wish I would have told you, Tess. I hear Carl's voice, but it's preceded by a deranged chuckle. Sorry about your husband, he says. I ain't too good behind the wheel. What did you do? I ask. Killed his sorry butt, says Carl. He took something that belonged to me. My worst fear is realized. The night that Johnny came home wet as a sheet, my suspicions were right. The pharmacy where 10 people were butchered in cold blood, 9 innocent, 1 guilty. Johnny was there. He was there because we were down on our luck, and he was rolling the dice, trusting people that he shouldn't have. People like his brother, like the people he had grown up with, the ones that he swore to himself he would never be around again. But Johnny, I knew him. He wasn't evil, just down on his luck. Maybe I didn't know him at all. I wish I had told you, Tess, I hear Johnny say. We'll be on our way. Carl interrupts. Just give us the cash. JJ lets out another sob. His glasses are smudged with tears and snot. I shush him and tell him that everything will be okay. But I know they won't be. And on cue, the wind picks up outside. Twisters are on their way. The wind doesn't howl like that unless tornadoes are forming. I told you it's okay to feed him, says Carl. I promise I won't watch. Give that baby some milk. You and I can talk about what your dead husband stole from us. My stomach churns. I don't lower my shirt, even though I want to. Even though I want JJ to know that mommy's here for him. But I do sit down, nudged forward by Troy. Carl notices that I tensed up at Troy's touch. Don't worry, he says. Troy doesn't bite unless I tell him to. I remember something that I learned once, in a movie maybe. Criminals who plan to let you off don't say their names. Carl and Troy don't care that we know their names, because JJ and I aren't leaving. Out of the corner of my eye through the windows, I see a series of flashes, followed closely by booming thunderclaps. The storm is with us now, another stranger making its way inside the house. Carl reaches forward and touches my breast with his slender, radish hand. Feed your baby, he says. We can hunker up all night if we need to. 12:25 a.m. I feed JJ as Carl watches. Troy tosses drawers in the kitchen, looking for whatever it is that Johnny took from them. Carl pulls a pack of Marlboro Reds out of his jacket and lights one up. He blows the smoke at JJ and me. JJ stirs. He's fallen asleep on my chest. I wish JJ was awake, that he could help me, that he could fend for himself. I don't know where the money that Carl and Troy wants is, and I can't protect us. Surely not with JJ sleeping on my chest. The bathroom. Johnny's ghost says. I can hear his voice clearly over the wind. His ghost reaches out from behind the grave to remind me of lessons about survival. The pieces of the puzzle assemble themselves. I realize that Johnny was a criminal all along. The shooting lesson last fall, other lessons that he had imparted throughout our marriage. He shared his soldier's knowledge in case something like this happened, so I could fight back if he wasn't there to protect me. The bathroom, Johnny says again. Back of the toilet tank, the gun, it's loaded just like I showed you. You should be in there anyway, Tess. It's too late to make it for the cellar. Johnny's voice blows away. My focus shifts. I see my dead mother standing behind Carl. She stares at me disapprovingly. Her skin is bloated, blue, waterlogged, just like it was on the night that I found her drowned in her favorite claw-footed bathtub, overdosed on benzos and booze. Oh, spare me your judgment, Tess, she says. You think I was weak. Take a look in the mirror. You were too stupid to leave, and you're too cowardly to fight back. These men are here to kill you and JJ, and there isn't a thing that you can do about it. Carl's crazed, piercing eyes break my concentration. It's like he's trying to read my mind. He follows my stare toward where I saw my dead mother's ghost standing behind him. Troy, he says, that picture frame on the wall. She looked right at it. Troy makes his way over from the kitchen, his footfalls like thunder. He removes the picture frame, revealing a discolored spot on the wall. He taps the wall with his gun barrel, searching for a stud but he doesn't find one, and then he punches through the drywall. He searched around in the cavity behind it. I pray that he doesn't find anything because if he does, JJ and I are dead. Nothing, says Troy. I see a flash of movement. A wave of Carl's cigarette-reeking breath hits my face. He grabs JJ's arm and pulls it towards him. I hear JJ's elbow crack. Carl moves his smoldering marble near JJ's unblemished skin. JJ wails. I scream in terror. "I'll kill this runt," says Carl. "Mark my words. I'll give him a brand. Now tell me where the money is." Instead of putting the cigarette out on JJ, he grabs my arm and puts it out on me. The pain is extraordinary, focused, a strike of lightning on my flesh. I grit my teeth, holding JJ. I can't pull free from Carl's grip. I can't move, so I grit my teeth until the cigarette goes out. Carl takes a deep breath. What's left of his frayed sanity returns for a moment. He drops the extinguished cigarette and runs his hands through his greasy hair, slicking it back. "No one needs to die," he says. "Dang it, we could all be eating canned beans right now, huddled up around a lantern telling ghost stories. No one needs to die." Outside, the wind howls. A fresh bout of hail hits the roof. I imagine tornadoes on that haunting electric horizon, and they're coming straight for us. No one needs to die, but if Carl and Troy don't start killing people, it's just a matter of time until the storm does. The storm cellar by the barn may as well be 1,000 miles away. "The bathroom," I say. "I'll show you." 12:45 a.m. I stand up to lead the way, but Carl stops me. "We'll take that baby off your hands," he says. "Gotta start picking up the pace here. Don't want you over-encumbered." He mispronounces the word. It fumbles awkwardly past his smoke-stained teeth. Troy rips JJ away from me before I can stop him. "No," I beg, tears flooding out. "Please." JJ cries bloody murder, but Troy holds him like a natural, like he's a father with children of his own. He shushes JJ, rocks him. JJ keeps crying, but the brutality of it subsides. "I told ya," Carl says. "Troy doesn't bite unless I tell him to." Troy stares at Carl with something resembling hatred. Troy bites who he wants when he wants. He would bite Carl if biting was required. I would pay any amount of money to avoid being on the other end of his teeth, but I don't know where the money is. In the front yard, out of the corner of my eye, I see a bolt of lightning hit a tree. It explodes in flames. "Ah, screw me," yells Carl. Troy reaches out with his free hand and shoves me forward. I sprawl onto the floor. Splinters grind into my palms. "Get the money now," Troy warns. "I'm done waiting." I stand up, refusing to let myself look at JJ, knowing that I would crumble if I did. I make my way through the dark hallway deeper into the house toward the bathroom, away from the safety of the hearth. Johnny's ghost comes with me, and so does my mother's. "Should have left, you stupid girl," says my mom, vomit spilling from her ice blue lips. "Should have left when you had a chance." "Eyes forward, Tess," says Johnny. "Oh, spare me your judgment," my mother interrupts. "You brought this on yourself. Everything you touch withers and dies." "Eyes forward, Tess," Johnny repeats. Back of the toilet tank. We reach the bathroom. This time, it's Carl who shoves me inside. "Get the money," he says. "I got a pack full of cigarettes looking for an ashtray." I go to the toilet tank and reach around the back. I hear JJ behind me, whimpering in Troy's arms. I feel the weight of the gun in my hand. "Hurry up!" Carl starts, but then I spin toward him. At that precise moment, the hands of God descend. A tornado touches down somewhere nearby, and the house begins to shake. The foundation begins to collapse. Carl is distracted. I raise the gun and pull the trigger as the roof around us caves in. The force of the gunshot and the roof collapsing knocks me back. My head cracks on the toilet seat. Stars explode into my eyes. I look up. Carl is still standing in front of the collapsed wall separating us from JJ and Troy. There's a rose of blood blooming on Carl's gut. "You son of a..." He falls toward me as the house around us continues to give way. I am again, this time at Carl's forehead, but the second before I pull the trigger, he grabs the barrel of the gun. He wrenches it sideways and the shot goes wide. Like Johnny told me to, I climb into the bathtub as the crumbled bathroom presses down on us. The bathtub is filled with dirty water, backed up from old pipes. As I slip down its porcelain walls, I feel my mother's phantom hands reach up from beneath the water. Her rotten breath seeps into my pores. She guides me downward, hugging me close. There, Tess." Just before the bathroom collapses completely, Carl jumps into the tub on top of me. Fluid from his stomach seeps out. Cold, dirty water below. Hot, gut-shot blood from on top. My mother's rotting breath below. Carl's sour cigarette reek from above. I'm stuck in the bathtub with Carl. The storm pounds away, but amidst the chaos, somewhere on the other side of the collapsed walls, I hear the sound of JJ crying. He's alive. Later, it's me and Carl's eyeless corpse in the bathtub. My mother's ghost is in there too. "Guess I was wrong about you," she says. "This time at least, but you're still..." "Shut up," I say. "Don't you ever shut up." Bloated, blue, cowering in the rotten water. "You're gone, Mom," I say, "and good riddance." The memory of her swirls down the drain, no longer relevant. Mercifully, finally, she's gone. Her constant threats are replaced by the sound of intensifying wind. The rubble of the house creaks like trees in a forest. I hear JJ crying again. I take a deep breath, and I begin crawling forward through one of the tunnels amidst the wreckage, forging into the timber remains of the house. Later, eyes forward, Tess. "Johnny, Joe. The structure creaks with each gust of wind. The wooden plaster press into me, crushing out the air. The tunnel was small enough to begin with as the house settles and resettles. I'm crushed, but I keep fighting. Through the cracks between the rubble, I see lightning, hail. The storm, the real storm is coming, and I have to get out before it does. The tunnel is getting smaller, narrowing to a pinpoint. I've never felt this trapped. "Johnny." Eyes forward, Tess. You and me now, babe. You and me and JJ. Crying. I can still hear it somewhere. Or is it just wishful thinking? Maybe Troy found the money. Maybe he. No, I can't think of that. Broken nails grind into me, shards of glass. A fissure opens up in my lower leg. Water rises through the foundation of the house too. The river at the back of the property has gone over its banks. I'm going to die the way that Carl did, the way my mother did, unless I crawl faster. The nails continue grinding in, threshing my body, but ahead I see it, a break in the foundation, an open space on the other side. 10 feet, 10 agonizing feet. The vice of the house presses my lungs to the point of bursting, but I pull forward. A final series of cracks through my spine and I'm through. I fall into the house, and I hear JJ crying. It wasn't my imagination. I'm in the hallway outside of the bathroom. It's come down, but the structure of the house had held, and there's enough room for me to move forward. I ignore the agony in my body, and then I see Troy. He's sitting with JJ on the couch, much of the house crumbled around them. The hearth is intact. Most of the room at the front of the house is. Johnny's ghost is standing near the fireplace. I see flashing through the front windows, through what's left of the front wall. But it's not lightning. It's red and blue. It's a sheriff's car. Hirsch Hickson's. Like he said he would, he's come for JJ and me. He's risked his life during the break in the storm to save us. When I look back to where Troy is sitting with JJ, I see that Troy is looking at me. In one hand, he holds a knife, its gleaming tip inches from JJ's head. With his other hand, he holds a finger to his lips, warning me to be quiet, but the wind would drown out any warnings that I managed to give Hirsch regardless. Troy stands up and he leaves JJ on the couch. I crawl on hands and knees over to my son, pulling him close to me. He doesn't cry. He lets out a sigh of relief. "Mama." I pull him close. "Tess!" Hirsch is yelling from outside. He's running towards what is left of our house. More twisters are on the way. "Tess, are you in there?" Troy stands to the side of the front door, which somehow is still upright. I shouldn't, but I do. I scream out to Hirsch, but he can't hear me over the wind. When he gets to the collapsed front wall, I look into his eyes, and he sees me and JJ. Relief washes over him. But Troy steps between him and me, a whole head taller than Hirsch. Hirsch looks up. I hold JJ close and I watch helplessly. Troy swings the knife up from his hip. Hirsch, despite his age, steps back, but the tip sweeps across his chest and blood fans out. Hirsch stumbles over the broken wall. Laying on the ground, he reaches for his gun. Troy's knife swings down again. Hirsch leaves his gun. He reaches up and stops the knife before it sinks into his chest. They're 10 feet from JJ and me. Thunder rolls over the sound of their struggle for life. "Run, Tess." Johnny's ghost is standing near us, watching helplessly as Hirsch does his best to fight from his back. "Run." Hirsch, he's losing. Troy brings the knife down and it sinks in. I hear the whoosh of Hirsch's punctured lungs over the sound of the wind. And so I run. I pick up JJ and I run. I climb over the remains of the front wall, thinking only of the barn and the storm cellar near it. I look over my shoulder. Hirsch looks up. His eyes. He's pleading with me to go as well. Troy's knife rises and falls, sinking into Hirsch's chest and face. He sees me going. He leaves Hirsch, who's dead already, his blank eyes staring up at the furious sky. Twisters rip down from heaven around us. Hail pounds my face. I slog through the flooding yard. I'm carrying JJ. He's too heavy. The wind threatens to rip him from my grasp. I'm going at a slow jog, at best. Behind me, I feel Troy's massive presence. He grabs my shirt. JJ and I fall to the ground, and the knife whistles through the air an inch above my head. I look up into Troy's eyes. Anger, loss. The money is no longer the issue. He wants to skin me and JJ for what Johnny did to his brother. "The storm cellar," says Johnny's ghost. "The Alamo." I dodge another swing of the knife and I run for it. I run as fast as I can. Neighboring houses are obliterated. A barn explodes into a cloud of splinters. God's wrath descends on this wretched strip of land. But I feel JJ's warmth against me, and I fight onward. And I hear Troy yelling behind me, gaining on me, losing his footing and spitting and cursing and swinging his meat cleaver of a knife. 20 feet, the storm cellar. But the storm is holding me back. 15 feet, nothing but a wasteland in every direction. Fingertips, not the storm's this time, but Troy's. He grabs my shirt again this time, it tears away. It's sucked upward into the clouds. The storm is so close that it could swallow us. I jump for the double doors of the storm cellar. I grab the handle with my free hand. Troy lands behind me and grabbing my foot, pulling. Raising the door an inch, the updraft winds finish the job, ripping the door away. I push JJ into the cellar and he falls into the darkness. I sink my hand into the concrete, my nails split from their beds. I look back at Troy and aim for his face, and I kick as hard as I can. His jaw breaks as my foot connects. He lets go. There's a stunned look on his face, but only for a moment. A piece of a destroyed combine collides with him, cutting his body in half. The storm finishes the job, pulling each part of him upward, 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 and swallowing him whole. My feet raise from the ground. I pull harder, crushing the concrete with my fingertips. I fall into the cellar and crawl forward on my hands and knees into the darkness as lightning glows in the opening to the cellar. Morning. Tess. I recognize the voice. Tess. It's Bill Wallace, our neighbor from down the road. Here. It's all that I can muster. Bill appears in the frame of the cellar. Oh, thank God. He comes down and helps me sit up. The house is gone, he says. I thought you and JJ. JJ. I look frantically for him and then I see him. He's sitting on the floor rolling a few cans back and forth, playing by himself in the aftermath. Somehow his Coke bottle glasses are still on. Now let me help you get out of here, says Bill. Help's on the way. He helps us out of the cellar. Everything as far as I can see is a wasteland. There's nothing left. The worst one that I've ever seen, Bill says. Hirsch. He raises a hand to his mouth. Your body, Tess. Oh, good God. And when I look down, pain rushes in. I'm covered in wounds from the previous night. Hirsch came for you, says Bill. He's dead, I said. So are the men who came here last night to hurt us. The men who came to hurt you. Strangers, I say. They showed up in the middle of the storm. They tried to kill us. But I don't say anything about why they came. I don't want to tarnish Johnny's memory. I need more time to process it myself. Tears form in Bill's eyes. He wipes them away and helps us over to what's left of the house. Nothing much except for the chimney and the hearth. Bill leads us to the front of the house. Listen, he says. Tess, I hate to do this, but I gotta mark other houses. You're safe. I don't know about the others. Go, Bill, I say. We'll be here. We're fine. He nods. Help's on the way, he reminds me. And then he leaves, navigating around the wreckage in his truck. JJ is asleep on my hip, drawn forward like a moth to a candle flame. I walk around the hearth and the chimney. The source of refuge in so many other storms. We have nothing left. Maybe our refuge lies in it now. And then it dawns on me. The chimney and the hearth. The place where we had taken refuge so many times. The thing Johnny's family treated like a sacred shrine. I walk past the broken front wall of the house, past the memory of Hirsch struggling for his life. His body is gone, swept away by the wind just like Troy's. I make my way over to the hearth. I look for clues about what the men came for. I feel inside of the chimney, but then I realize any money hidden there would have been incinerated by the fireplace. And then I notice it. A brick on the facade of the hearth, slightly out of place. JJ has fallen asleep on my shoulder. Holding him so as to not wake him, I reach for the brick, and I remove it. Deep on the other side is a large Ziploc bag, bound into a bundle of rubber bands. I take them off. The bag is filled with laundry tickets from the laundromat, the family business. Dozens of them. Near the front, I see one dated 3 days back, the day before Johnny was killed by Carl and Troy. Thompson's Laundromat, ticket number 00235. Every laundry ticket is blank. The only thing on them is the number. I had seen Johnny's mom use the machine before. She punched in a number and the conveyor belt brought the garments forward. If the laundromat is still standing, what would I find when I punched in the numbers? Carl and Troy had wanted it bad enough that they had come to our house in the middle of a storm. Something, maybe something that could help us start over. A new life for JJ and I. The memory of Hirsch. The memory of Johnny before everything fell apart. There's a piece in me that wants to leave and never look back. But for the first time in a long time, I feel hope. When it rains, it pours. Amidst the hundreds of tickets in the Ziploc bag, I sense possibility. For the first time in as long as I can remember, I see a break in the clouds.